no further ado, let's quickly welcome our two remaining panelists. So, Philippe Luscan, Executive Vice President of Global Industrial Affairs and President of French Operations for Sanofi. And Joshua Geim, Chief Technology Officer for the Consumer Businesses of Johnson & Johnson. Please come and take a seat. So we've got to try and compress everything we want to talk about in 10 minutes. So let me first throw it open to each of you. You've heard what everyone said. Here we have two of the world's biggest healthcare groups, Sanofi, Johnson & Johnson. How do you each fit into this new world that we've been talking about? Tell us, Philippe.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I think I will come back to all your message about innovation and collaboration. And to start by that, I would like to give you some very good news from a Sanofi perspective, because you know that we are launching new products. This year, 6 new molecules all over the world, and the following years, 2 per year, so up to 20 new molecules in the next years. And so the innovation of Sanofi in many fields, rare disease, multiple sclerosis, diabetes, cardiovascular, and I would like to finish by the vaccine, because we are in Lyon, and the dengue vaccine, I'm sure, and to capabilities and expertise. So I think innovation and collaboration are getting accelerated, and Sanofi Pasteur is a big vector of that, and we are very, very engaged in this dynamic.
Thank you very much, Philippe. Give us the J&J view, Josh.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think from what people talked about today, we're making the healthcare issue just about finding drugs at the end, whereas we need to start addressing throughout the spectrum of healthcare, which includes the health and wellness piece, the consumer products, over-the-counter drugs that are coming in, and then in the drug side, which is critical from a collaboration, from innovation perspective. This is part of the reason, I think most of you are probably familiar, we talked about it a few minutes in another meeting about the innovation centers that we're opening, so that this is not a US-based research anymore. This is happening, research and innovation is happening around the world, and we need to be upfront, whether we're doing the innovation center in Shanghai, whether we're doing it in Boston, it should be treated through collaboration to give access. A lot of the innovators, a lot of the companies, and also better collaboration with governments, regulators, it has to be across the board. The last piece is, I think, there's a lot of learnings that we absolutely have to take advantage of. And I think the best example is what happened with Ebola. I think if you look at the work that's happening across companies, across government agencies, the collaboration, the fact that we're able to accelerate getting a vaccine into clinical trial instead of waiting 7 years, it's happening in 1 year. So what are the learnings that, as an industry, as government agencies, as companies, that we need to continue to learn from the experiences that we're seeing, and how do we leverage that into other areas of diseases?
Of course, J&J is the biggest, by many measures, healthcare group in the world, with everything from baby oil to cancer drugs to knee implants to painkillers. How does such a big group fit into this more sort of nimble, collaborative type of R&D that we've been talking about today?
Yeah, and I think you'll see, we still invest significant amount of money into R&D, internally, and a lot of it goes externally. A few years back, we actually made a decision. As much as we have incredible scientists in-house, we have 128,000 employees worldwide, there's a lot of opportunity internally, but we believe that innovation is not going to be done by us only, which is why I think we're opening our doors. If you look at some of the things that we're doing to help even startups accelerate their time, and if you look at large companies in the past, there was always strings attached to whatever we work when we work with smaller companies. We've moved away from that to say, it's actually no strings attached. Come use our experts. Come use our facilities when you need to, because we have built the infrastructure that a startup doesn't need to build the same capabilities. So I think the model will continue to evolve, but it can't just be also just J&J and the small startups, the innovators. We need to bring in regulators, government agencies, nonprofits. All of them have to be on the table to be able to move things at a much faster pace.
Philippe, let's just briefly hear a bit more about the dengue product, because we've heard a lot today about the problems in the industry, the things that still need to be done. Here's an example of a product that is definitely helping society. You believe it's going to produce a return for your investors. So perhaps we shouldn't be too gloomy. Tell us how you've brought this product about.
I think it's a long story, a long scientific story, which is a very big proud of the teams of Pasteur. And we are registering now this vaccine in many countries all over the world. We have built a plant close to Lyon in Neuville-sur-Saône. We did it 7 years ago when we were still in phase 2, so we took a big risk. And I think we have taken our entrepreneurial spirit to go ahead, and we are producing doses. So before the end of the year, we should be able to start vaccination in all over the world. You know that we are estimating hundreds of millions of people, patients, who are contaminated every year. So there is a lot of hope all over the world, and including in European countries and in USA. And we are very happy to bring to the patients this big vaccine and very innovative.
Okay, terrific. Competitiveness, you've opened these innovation centers, US, Europe, now Shanghai, gives you a great global view of where competitiveness is most vibrant. How is Europe doing, and should the US and Europe both be worrying about what's coming out of Asia?
You know, I think absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of research happening around the world. Granted, it's at different levels, so Asia is still behind in terms of the technical capability, some of the scientific capability, but it's coming along very well. I think for me, instead of US, Europe worrying about what's coming, I think there's an opportunity to actually look at it from a global perspective, how we collaborate, how we work together, regardless of where the innovation is coming from. I think it's going to be, it is an open world nowadays, and that's part of the reason. But one of the critical things that we need to focus on is how do we prevent the preventable diseases? Because today, a lot of it is focusing on things that they need a solution short term, but for the long term, I think it's going to be critical driving healthcare costs by preventing the preventable diseases, and that's going to be a big part of it.
Quick one on competitiveness from you, Philippe. You're in charge of French operations for Sanofi. There's always a lot of scrutiny, particularly from investors, perhaps Anglo-Saxon investors who have some prejudices about French competitiveness. Tell us about how your French operations, presumably in your view, they're an asset to the company rather than something investors should worry about.
Well, I think first, you know, all our manufacturing is an asset for the company because there is a lot of knowledge and a lot of expertise. You know, also, I think it was said before that we contribute with a lot of export to the company and to France, which is very beneficial. And you know that in a biotech, in a vaccine, for example, there is a lot of expertise in France. And it's very helpful that a company like Pasteur can produce, export all over the world. More than 95% of its production is export all over the world, and we are working hard to maintain this leadership and competitiveness.
Now, quick last one, and because we're really out of time, but we should just touch briefly, given there's been so much debate about pricing over the past year. We've got an insurer with us. We've seen the raging debate in the US over Sovaldi between insurers and the industry. Perhaps you can briefly both tell us your view of how industry can get a return on investment while producing drugs at an affordable price to society, and perhaps you can come in then to conclude and tell us whether industry is doing enough to become more efficient. Josh.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the healthcare cost, and this is not limited to just one drug or another drug, I think it's just the overall healthcare spectrum is it's out of control for the most part. And it is important to what I said earlier, that the collaboration on how we build this versus worrying about is this drug costs this much? I still think that there was a discussion around health outcomes. I think whether it's insurers, governments should focus on paying based on health outcomes. I think all of that is going to be critical, but it can't be the way we're operating where one side versus the other. I think it was mentioned earlier. Up front, there's got to be better collaboration. Otherwise, getting it towards the back end, talking about the pricing is not going to solve it because there's significant cost that goes into the research. Unless we plan it better, it's not going to work.
Philippe, on the pricing debate.
I think, Sanofi is a diversified company in order to be a healthcare partner. And of course, we have all the range of the portfolio, starting with innovating drugs and going to some cheaper drugs in some countries. I think this morning there was a speech from Robert Sebag, who is in charge of all the access medicine program of Sanofi, which is showing that we want to be a partner in order to get access to the patients all over the world.
And Christian, here's your chance as the insurer. How well is the industry doing to become more efficient? What would you like to see them do more?
No,
Je pense qu'en France, vous l'avez compris.
Well, I think in France, as you've understood, the model is mainly funded by the general regime, but I think we're only at the start of all of this now, and I think we have to have determination on the part of all of the parties, whether it be the insurance companies or the big pharmaceutical companies and industries. We have to start to work together so as to get a better solution, and so that we can grow the market together and make sure that our fellow citizens can keep the system which is based on solidarity, at least from a funding point of view, but also benefit from all of the technological breakthroughs in medicine, whether it be on the part of the industry, but we know the patients, we know the pathologies, and I think we're made to work together, really.
We better leave it there, but I think to try and draw a conclusion to this in all of the panels, it's clear that the challenges are very great, perhaps even greater than many in the public and among politicians recognise. But the good news is that there's a great deal going on already in the industry, policymakers, regulators, all trying to meet this challenge. So let's hope that these new ways of working can deliver the innovation that the life science industry and its investors need, and society certainly needs in the years to come. Thank you very much for listening. I believe we've got the best bit of the afternoon coming very shortly, the awards ceremony, so stay tuned for that. Thank you very much. All right, thanks. Thank you.